Do dahlias grow well in pots? They most certainly do, as you can see from what looks like a herbaceous border but is actually a pot display created by author, gardener and photographer Claus Dalby. I've invited Claus onto the channel to share his secrets of how he displays and grows dahlias in pots along with other plants. It's Alexandra here from the Middle-Sized Garden YouTube channel and blog, and I'll put links to Claus Dalby's YouTube channel and Instagram feed in the description below, along with any other resources we mention and plant names. And there'll be timestamps so you can jump directly to any part of the video you're particularly interested in. If you're new here, the Middle-Sized Garden uploads weekly with tips, ideas and inspiration for your garden. So if you want to see the videos when you open up YouTube, click the subscribe button. And if you'd like YouTube to tell you when a new video is uploaded, tap the notifications bell. As well as being famous on Instagram, Claus has a beautiful YouTube channel where he shares tips and inspiration for his garden. He's Danish, although the channel's in English, so the garden's based in Denmark, which roughly equates to a USDA hardiness zone of 8, or pretty much an English climate. But of course the beauty of using so many pots means that you can use a much wider range of plants than you could normally grow in your own garden. And of course you can take, if a plant goes over or it dies or it's just not looking great, you can take a pot out and put another pot in its place. Claus's garden is around an acre, but it's divided into 15 different rooms or zones, and each one of them has its own personality. He's got a cottage garden border, he's got little courtyards, he's got a wonderful garden room, so there's lots of lovely inspiration there. So I'll hand you over to Claus so he can explain to you how you can grow dahlias in pots with some other really quite surprising plants in pots.
Hello, welcome to my garden. My name is Claus Dalby. I live in Denmark. And first of all, I would like to thank you, Alexander, for inviting me to your channel, The Middle-Sized Garden. It's really such a pleasure. I have been gardening since the mid-90s, and I can tell you that the garden here is 4,000 square meter, which means 1 acre, and we don't have lawns. A big part of the garden in front of the house is what you could call borders in English style, with a lot of flowers, and here where I'm staying just now, at the other side of the house, at the back side of the house, I have so many container plantings. You also need to say hello to Nero, our dog. This is our standard poodle. He's also a gardener, digging holes in the garden. I can tell you that he is 5 years old. So cute. But I will tell you that all the plants you see here, they're grown in pots. I'm just mad about container gardening, and it makes it so easy to move all the plants around. As you can see, this is quite colorful, but I'm working with all kind of colors. For example, I have a sunken garden, a white garden, and just now there are many white dahlias and also foliage plants. In the springtime, I'm using, for example, tulips in the same colors, but just now it's the dahlias which is the highlights. I also have a red corner with different shades of red, also with different foliage plants. I have lavender and lilac dahlias, and I also have yellow dahlias. So I'm almost using all colors. When I'm working with dahlias, I find it so important with companion plants, especially foliage plants. And in this video, I will talk about some of the foliage plants. I will of course also show you some of the dahlia varieties you see here and give you the names, but there are hundreds, there may be thousands of great dahlias, and I think I may be growing maybe 150 or maybe 200 varieties. Especially I like dahlias with dark foliage, and I like tall dahlias and low dahlias, and I'm also playing with all the forms. And yes, I have pompons, I have ball dahlias, I have single flowered dahlias, and I will say I find the single flowering dahlias very important because they really attract the bees. All the dahlias here in the garden, they are grown in pots, and I think that you would maybe like to hear how I am planting the tubers and what I do with the tubers in the winter time, and I will talk about that a little bit later. When I'm planting, both in the borders and in my container design, I am very much working with repetition. I repeat the plants because it gives more quietness. You can see, for example, the begonias here, and also some of the annuals and some of the dahlias. And also I am playing with the shapes and using perennials. I'm using annuals. I will introduce you for some of them, and then of course the dahlias. As you can probably see, I use chartreuse limey foliage, and this is so important for my color scheme here. I'm also using the chartreuse foliage together with the white dahlias and with the yellow dahlias. And I will now introduce you to some of the most important chartreuse foliage plants I'm using. This is the most important foliage plant with chartreuse foliage, and this is Aralia Sun King. Such a great perennial. It's almost a little shrub, but it's so easy to grow in pots. It's completely hardy, and it's very easy to overwinter. The next one I will show you is this one. This is Philadelphus caucasius Aureus, and this is a shrub, but I can tell you what I do. In the spring I cut this plant down to about 20-25 centimeter, and it means that you will get fresh growth. If you don't prune it, it will get white flowers, and they are okay, but I don't want the flowers. I just want to see the foliage. And then I will talk about this Ninebark, Physocarpus, opulifolius, Nugget. And I do the same with this plant. This is also a shrub, and I prune it, I cut it down once again to this height, and it means that it will have fresh growth and the most beautiful fresh foliage here. When I'm designing with plants, I'm very focused on how they grow, and I find spikes very useful. Therefore, I just love foxgloves and delphiniums. And this is a Lobelia, and the name of this variety, this is Hadspen purple. And see this begonia, and I really think that it's lighting the whole group of plants up. Here in the garden we are also growing many annuals from seeds, and this is Cleome, the spider flower, and I just love this airy look. And to add height, we also have Buddleias, and this is Nanho purple, also such a great color. And when you have big flowers, as for example Dahlias, you also need some small flowers. And this is Verbena bonariensis. I'm almost sure you know this plant with these tiny flowers. And we have pinched them when they were around 10 centimeters high, and it means that they get more bushy. Lilies, they're also amazing together with dahlias, because they have an very, you can call it, unusual shape. And this is purple marble. We have had a quite rainy weather the last days, so there are very, very few flowers left. But I would like to show you how it was looking for just a week ago, and I really think that purple marble, the lilies, they are fitting so great into the color scheme here. Angelica gigas, we are also growing in pots, and you can probably see the bees there, and this is also a very ornamental plant, and the foliage is also great, and it's a plant I can really recommend you. But I think that it's time to show you some of the dahlias. I hope that you were inspired by the dahlia varieties I have just shown, but as I have said, there are so many. But now I will just explain how we are planting the dahlia tubers in pots. We start in the beginning of April, and then we plant the tubers in plastic pots. And a very important thing is that you just need to cover the tubers with very little soil, maybe just 1 centimeter, because then they will start to grow, and you will see the green much earlier. And when we have planted the tubers, we water them, and then we place them in the greenhouse. And in about 2-3 weeks time, they will start to grow. And in the beginning of May, depending on the season, we plant the potted dahlia tubers. We put them in big pots. And very often I'm planting 3 tubers in a pot like this. But if you have a smaller pot, you can also just plant 1. And we are using good soil, and we remember to feed them. And when we have planted the tubers in the pots, we place a support, and this support is my own design, and I would say it's quite important to support the dahlias, because if it will be rain and if it will be maybe stormy, they will maybe flop over, they will fall over, and they will break. So I'm always supporting my dahlias. And then they start to grow, and it's almost impossible to see the support. This support is my own design, and because it's rusty, you don't see it. If you look around here, it's yes, I don't think that that people see the supports, and I think also they are okay to look at. I also need, by the end, to tell you what I do with the tubers in the winters, in the winter time. People ask me if I just leave them in the pot, but we don't do that. We take the tubers up, we clean them, and then we store them. We wrap them with in newspapers, and then we store them with, let's say, 5, maybe 10 degrees. You probably know that frost is it will just kill them. So you need to find a place with maybe 5 or 10 degrees. And then next spring we just plant them again in the beginning of April, and then we use them year for year. This was a little tour here in my container garden. Once again, I would like to thank you, Alexandra, for inviting me, and I really hope that you would also like to visit my channel and maybe follow me. I'm telling about my gardening year, the year around. Thank you so much. Goodbye, goodbye.
And if you're planning your spring bulbs, Claus has got a video on how to plant spring bulbs in containers, which is also very inspiring. So do pop on over to the Claus Dalby YouTube channel, and thank you for watching. Goodbye.